Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist and I'm going to be doing a Gen X deck profile. So I'm really excited to do this for you guys because this deck was actually suggested to me by one of my patrons, Gloomba. And this deck is an extremely fun deck to play because there's so many cool synchro boss monsters you can actually make with this deck. So without further ado guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can come part of our notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description down below for all those awesome rewards, like getting your name description in a single video, getting a signed cards in the mail, and even getting to request a deck profile every single month to your patron. And definitely give Gloomba some love down in the comments down below for suggesting such an awesome deck. So let's get straight on into this one, guys. So first off, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Gen X Ally Duradark. This card is a really good 3-up in this deck that once per turn during your main phase, you can select one face-up attack with your monster your opponent controls with the same attribute as this card and destroy it, which is always going to be dark in this particular deck, but that's super cool that you can just deal with a dark monster that your opponent has on the field. But this card can't attack the turn you activate this effect, but it's still a really good 3-up in this build. We then play 3 copies of Gen X Turbo. Gen X Turbo is an awesome card in this deck. This card helps you out in so many ways because when this card is normal summon, you can add a level 1 Gen X monster from your deck to your hand, which is super good to combo with cards like your copies of Gen X Recycler or Gen X Oracle. We then play 3 copies of Gen X Blast Fan. Blast Fan is really good as well as a 3-up in this deck because when this card is special summon, you can add 1 dark Gen X monster from your deck to your hand, which is a really good effect because we have quite a few darks in the deck that you can search off this card's effect, and it's super easy to actually special summon this card off the effect of Summoner Monk. We then play 2 copies of Gen X Neutron. Neutron is a really cool card in this deck as well, and it's a really great searcher because during the end phase of the turn this card was normal summon, you can add a machine tuner monster from your deck to your hand, which is great for this deck to be able to search out a bunch of different cards in this deck. We then play 3 copies of Gen X Ally Remote. Gen X Ally Remote is actually a machine dupe target, which is super good about this card. But it has a great effect that once per turn, you can select one face-up tuner monster on the field, and the selected monster's name is treated as Gen X Controller until the end phase, so this card basically works as your extra copies of Gen X Controller in this deck, which is a great effect about this card, and you can also machine dupe it directly to your side of the field, which is great about this card as well. We then play 3 copies of Gen X Recycled. Gen X Recycled is definitely a 3-up in the deck because it is a machine dupe target as well, and once per turn you can select a Gen X monster in your graveyard until the end phase of this turn. This card is treated as a selected monster's name, which can come up in a lot of different combos. For example, being able to select Blast Fan in your graveyard will turn this card's name into Blast Fan, and then you can machine dupe out 2 more copies of Blast Fan to your side of the field, which is super cool because it'll get you a double search, which is insane, and it's just a really awesome card in this deck to be able to machine dupe with, and it's just absolutely a great card in this build. We then play a single copy of the Gen X Xbox, aka Oracle. This card is really cool, and I love this card because if this card is added from your deck to your hand by the effect of a Gen X monster, you can special summon this card, and it cannot be used as a synchro material for a monster except for the synchro summon of a Gen X monster. Oracle is really cool in this deck as a 1-up, but you don't really need more than 1 copy of this card because it is a spellcaster monster, but it's great in this deck to be able to use because it does work with your copy of Turbo extremely well. We then play just a single copy of Birdman. Birdman's really good in this deck as well because it helps you bounce a card back from your side of the field back to the hand, and then special summon this card, getting you a level 3 tuner on your side of the field so you can start synchro climbing into some really cool plays. We then play 3 copies of Summoner Monk. Summoner Monk is really good in this deck as a 3-up to be able to summon your copy of Blast Fan directly from the deck by just discarding a spell to the graveyard, and it's really good to get you 2 level 4s on your side of the field, and it's an awesome card in this deck to work with that Blast Fan. We then play 2 copies of Gen X Controller. You really only need 2 copies of Gen X Controller because you are playing the 3 copies of Remote in the deck that can count as your copies of your Gen X Controller, which is just super good in this deck to help you synchro summon into some really powerful cards. So that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get into the spells. So for the spells, we're going to start off with a single copy of Foolish Burial. Foolish Burial is a really good one of the deck to get the exact card you need in the graveyard when you need it. We then play a single copy of Instant Fusion and 3 copies of Ready Fusion because we play a lot of targets in the extra deck for our Ready Fusions and Instant Fusions because it makes it a lot easier to synchro climb when you have 2 monsters on your side of the field, and being able to just summon out a copy of, say, Gen-X Controller or Remote and then activating the Ready Fusion or Instant Fusion will get you those 2 monsters on your side of the field so you can synchro summon into some really powerful cards. Plus, the copy of Ready Fusion does let us special summon out a monster that's level 6, which is super helpful to go in for a bunch of different plays. We then play 3 copies of Machine Duplication. Machine Duplication is really good in the deck, so we have multiple targets in the deck to be able to use with Machine Duplication, and it's such a powerful card in this deck because it lets you target a machine monster you control with 500 less attack, and then special summon up to 2 more monsters from your deck with the same name as that face-up monster, which is super cool about the combo with this card and Recycle, because Recycle can actually change its name on the field, which is kind of similar to the way that Cyber Dragon Core works in Cyber Dragon, that when Core is on your side of the field, you can activate it, target the copy of your Core, and then special summon out 2 more Cyber Dragons of the original Cyber Dragons from your deck, which is just really neat. We then play 3 copies of Unexpected Die. Unexpected Die, our only target in the deck to be able to summon is our copy of our Gen-X Controller that we're going to be summoning directly from the deck to our side of the field. It helps out a lot in this deck because you're very reliant on your normal summons. So having a bunch of different ways to get extra monsters on your side of the field is really nice to help you synchro summon in the deck. So Unexpected Die is really good to be able to activate first, get a copy of Controller on your side of the field, and then use your normal summon for whatever you need. Ready Fusion is also really good to help you get a monster on your side of the field, and I love that about this deck. We then play 3 copies of Double Summon. Double Summon is really good as a 3 of as well in this deck. You can always discard it with a copy of Summoner Monk if you draw into multiple copies of it, but it's really good in this particular build to help you get an additional monster on your side of the field so you can synchro summon, especially with this deck being very reliant on the normal summon. We then play 3 copies of Allure of Darkness. Allure of Darkness is just a great draw card for the deck. We play so many different darks in this deck. Being able to draw 2 and banish a card is great in this deck to help you dig into the deck for more combo pieces like your Ready Fusion, Instant Fusion, Machine Duplication, your copies of Unexpected Die, and even more monsters that you can use to be able to summon to your side of the field, which is just really nice. Plus, like I said, we play so many different darks in the deck, you can afford to banish one for this card. So, that's it for these spells, guys, and the main deck. Let's get into the extra deck. So for the extra deck, we're going to start off with a single copy of Gen-X Ally Axel. You really only need a single copy of any of the Gen-X monsters that you're going to be summoning from the extra deck. And it's a great effect that takes a Gen-X tuner monster plus a non-tuner monster, but has the ability that once per turn, you can discard a card to select 1 level 4 or lower machine monster from your graveyard and special summon it. And the attack of that monster is doubled until the end of the turn, which is a great effect, but it can't attack your opponent directly, and remove that monster from play during the end phase, which is a great effect to just get you an additional monster on your side of the field. And I love that about this card because this card is just a really good card that's basically a walking monster reborn that helps you synchro climb because you can actually bring back tuners to your side of the field. We then play a single copy of Locomotion. Locomotion is super easy to actually make in this deck with your copies of your Instant and Ready Fusion, getting you that monster that you need on your side of the field to help you synchro summon into this card. And it's really good because it does require a dark monster to be able to synchro into this card, and when this card is synchro summoned, you can take control of a face-up monster your opponent controls with the highest level, and it's your choice if it's a tie, which is a great effect. This card is basically a walking brain control. I love that about this card, or a Change of Heart, which is just really cool. We then play a single copy of Vindicate. Vindicate is one of my favorite ones to actually summon out to my side of the field, because your opponent cannot select this card for an attack target, which is really good because it is the only card on your side of the field. Your opponent just can't attack, which is really cool about this card. And if this card is destroyed by a battle, you can add 1 Gen-X monster from your deck to your hand, which is a great effect that if this card destroys an opponent's monster battle, then you can add 1 Gen-X monster from your deck to your hand, which is a super good effect this card also searches when it destroys a monster by battle. We then play a single copy of Triforce. Triforce is one of the more interesting cards in this deck because depending on what you use to synchro summon this card, depends on the effects that it gets. If you use an Earth monster, if this card attacks, your opponent cannot activate spells or traps until the end of the turn. If you use a Fire monster, cards if this card destroys a monster by battle, inflict damage to your opponent equal to the attack of the monster destroyed, which is basically like a flame wing effect. And if you use a light monster, then once per turn you can select a light monster in your graveyard and special summon it in face down defense position, which is a pretty good effect to be able to use with your copy of Neutron. We then play a single copy of Gen-X ally Tri-Arm. Tri-Arm is a card that I summon out all the time in this deck, and one of the best ones to actually summon to your side of the field. It has a similar effect to Tri-Force, so depending on what you use to synchro summon this card depends on the effects that it gets. If you use a wind monster, you send one random card from your opponent's hand to the graveyard. If you use a water monster, then you select a spell or trap on the field and destroy it. If you use a dark, you get to select one face-up light monster on the field and destroy it, and then draw a card, which is a pretty good effect. I love that about this card, and it has so many good applications with this card. We then play a single copy of Psychic in Punisher. Psychic in Punisher is actually very easy to summon in the deck, because all you have to do is summon out your copy of Axel, and then use Axel to bring back a copy of your Gen-X controller to your side of the field, and 8 plus 3 is 11, so it's very easy to actually summon Psychic in Punisher in this deck, and get an absolutely massive monster on your side of the field. We then play a single copy of Baron de Fleur. Baron de Fleur is also very easy to summon in this deck as a walking negate, and it's a really good card. One copy of Trishula. Being able to banish 3 is just insane, also pretty easy to summon in the deck. One copy of Crystal Wing. Crystal Wing's very good in this deck to be able to use as a monster negate. One copy of Arcanite Magician. Arcanite Magician is really good as a one-of because it does help you out a lot to be able to use this card to pop multiple cards on the field. It's just a really good card overall. We then play a single copy of Coral Dragon. Coral Dragon is very neat in this deck as a one-of, just in case you need a tuner to help you climb in the deck. This card does come in extremely handy. And then for our instant and ready fusion targets, we're playing a single copy of Sandwich. Sandwich comes in extremely handy in this deck to help you go into Locomotion, because you can use your copy of Ready Fusion plus a level 3 tuner to go into your copy of your Locomotion. One copy of Kaminari Attack. Kaminari Attack is great as a one-of in the deck to help you go into Fervindicate, which is a great card to be able to make with this card, and a copy of Gen-X Controller. A copy of Dragoness the Wicked Knight. Dragoness the Wicked Knight is great in this deck as a one-of to help you go into your copy of Tri-Arm, which is really good to be able to use with a copy of a level 2 or level 3 tuner plus your copy of Dragoness. And then finally a single copy of Allvain. Allvain is kind of like a catch-all card because it is a tuner monster that you can use to go into a bunch of different cards in this deck. It's just a really good card overall in this build. So that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you did enjoy it. This deck is super fun to be able to play. If you guys have never played a Gen-X deck before, you should definitely give this deck a try, because it's very interesting, all the different plays that you can actually go into. There's a bunch of other synchro monsters you can actually play in this deck, but those were the best ones that I could figure out to summon. So, anyways, guys, this is DarkArmedDuelist. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can become part of the notification squad, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.